Gentlemen, people clicked on this video because they wanted to see DeAndre Swift trade. So let's give them what they want. DeAndre Swift or Kenneth Walker and a 24 first.
Kenneth Walker and a 24 first.
I will actually waffle on that trade, and I'll go with the Swift side, but it also feels like if I try to sell Swift, I'm looking for that type of 2-for-1 trade anyway. But I'll go with Swift.
DeAndre Swift and Jerry Jeudy or Travis Etienne and T. Higgins.
Travis Etienne and T. Higgins.
I agree.
That wide receiver golf is just.
That's the difference.
Couldn't even keep it on the screen.
Bigger gap between the receivers than the running backs. Yeah, if you're just looking at range of outcomes.
DeAndre Swift or Miles Sanders and Deontay Johnson.
I'll go Swift.
Yeah, I'm going to go Swift as well. I think he's more popular in the community. I think I can do better.
Before we jump back into some trades, like them, try to buy them, trying to sell them. What are your thoughts?
I'll buy. I'm hesitant to buy right now, only because we still have 2.5 months until the season starts. We're always shooting for difference-making running back production. You know, there's a reason people are chasing Kamara and Eckler and Swift and McCaffrey and Barkley. 50 catches, 60 targets minimum. Like, you just don't get there if you are only catching 38 balls on 48 targets. I don't care if you score, 13 touchdowns and you're 4.8 yards per carry and you get 255 carries. You know what I mean? Like, you're just probably going to struggle to get there, just given that there's these guys that are catching 80 balls for 700 yards like Swift could. So I am chasing him, but I also agree he is a half a season away from getting hurt again. And then you're kind of like, give me the next man up, which he could get passed by 4 or 5 running backs in next year's class if he gets hurt and misses half the year and disappoints. So there's a little more risk with him, but I do want to chase the ceiling. And Shane may disagree, but I mean, he loves a guy like David Montgomery. And I'm like, if I can pivot from Montgomery and a second to get Swift, or add in a wide receiver 3 and get back a second or something like that, like, I'm interested in doing that if it fits my build.
Okay, well, you just made me think of a trade. Shane, would you rather have David Montgomery and Cortland Sutton or DeAndre Swift?
I'm going to take Cortland and David Montgomery.
You can't stand Cortland Sutton.
I don't like him, and I don't think he's particularly good.
He's sellable, right?
Yes.
Resale?
The community yelled at me over the last couple of days to let me know why he's so valuable and why he's going to be so good, which means I could trade him for actually something useful.
Would you rather have DeAndre Swift or CeeDee Lamb and the 202?
CD.
Yeah, I actually think they're straight up the same price. If Lamb has a big season, he ascends into an asset in Dynasty that is almost untouchable.
Yep.
I think Swift has the same potential, but I also think with next year's running back class, it's going to be harder for one of these running backs to get into that range. Like, they would have to have a 22, 23 point per game season, kind of like JT, and have the profile and be young for them to stay like in the first round of the startup conversation. I've actually sold Swift and bought Swift. I bought Swift from Shane and gave up a 23 first plus, and we swapped a couple other pieces. And then I sold Swift in a 14 team start 12, and I got back a 23 first and Kareem Hunt. So that was more of like a process trade where I was going basically 0 RB there, but I've collected Pollard, Madison, Hunt, Edmonds. I've collected all of the short-term running backs that I hope can just give me, RB2 floors, but I've slowly accumulated 2023 firsts, to try to basically backfill with maybe an anchor running back next year. So I'm on the fence on buying and selling, but I do think if you have the right running back room, it makes sense to buy it.
DeAndre Swift or the 106 and 109?
Swift.
Yeah, that's Swift, even though I could get my buddy James Cook there.
Yeah, because when you attach names to it, it's like 106 could be, Garrett Wilson sometimes will fall there, Treylon Burks, but then 109, James Cook, or you could be looking at like Christian Watson. There's not a running back there that you can really trust.
Now, if you can somehow turn the pick into a 23 first, which, I mean, we're so far past that, then the 23 first to James Cook, you're going, okay, I can get on board with that type of trade. But just taking a receiver and you end up with like Jameson Williams or Treylon Burks or Chris Olave, like,
right.
I'd probably rather have Swift.
DeAndre Swift or Antonio Gibson and Drake London?
I still like Gibson more than the market because his market price has literally been cut in half in the last month. But I think you're now basically doing the same type of deal you were talking about with Montgomery and a receiver. You know what I mean? That's a good trade.
Yeah, I'm going to counter, and I'm going to try to get your David Montgomery and Drake London for DeAndre Swift, and then I'll be happy.
DeAndre Swift and a 23 first, or Jonathan Taylor and a 23 second.
I'll go Swift in the 23 first.
Yeah, just thinking about, I'm going to chop DeAndre Swift up after that deal. Like, I want the 3 firsts for JT right off the bat, or at least 2 firsts and something, but I could chop that up. Swift comes out and does what he's capable of doing, right? So say he does come out there and he does see 6 targets a week, right? And I'm just wrong. And that offense is humming and he does score some touchdowns. Like, he is talented. We've seen that. Like, there's a reason that he was so highly sought after in rookie drafts. Like, if he smashes, he'll be right up there with JT.
Well, and he's averaged 5.5 targets a game for his career with multiple quarterbacks. And yeah, we might sit here and say, well, there's more target competition, but the offense should be better. His line is good. So hopefully the offense can sustain more so than last year, which means they're going to run, 15% more plays. You know what I mean? Like, they're going to score more points. So I think, yeah, there's a trade-off. Sure. Is he going to have 100 plus targets in an offense with Jared Goff, where there's probably 4 or 5 other weapons that are going to be seeing 30, 40 or more targets? Probably not. But if he's in that like 85, 90 range, I don't care if he only gets I prefer he only gets like 150 carries. You know, maybe he scores 8 touchdowns and then a couple through the air. Like, he can get there. He doesn't have like RB1 overall upside, because you look at, he's not going to probably get 320 plus touches. So it's going to have to be like one of these Kamara or McCaffrey or Eckler seasons where it's like, oh my gosh, he had 110 catches. Like, that's not probably going to happen.
Yeah.
But I think 80 and 250 touches is feasible, and that easily could crack the top 6. So I'm more intrigued the more we talk, but I think Shane made a great point. If you have JT, you're not getting 3 first. So if you can get Swift and a 23, and then you can take your chances with maybe breaking Swift up into 2 pieces, you could turn JT into, 2 23 firsts and David Montgomery. And like, you would take that, you know what I mean?